Sorry about that interruption, people. I got to work on a couple discussions and some other things with other teachers here. Sorry about that. So here we are. Hopefully that one made sense. The F and the D corresponded. The O's were the shared angles, so they're in a corresponding position. And then, of course, G and X correspond to one another. This bottom one is a tricky one. I will tell you that right now. There is more than one way to do it because there's an kind of an extra piece of information on there. This little congruent mark on here is extra. You actually don't even need this. That angle. There's a shared angle on this problem. And this is probably hard because there's three triangles to look at. You've got the medium triangle, which has nothing to do with the problem. You've got the small triangle, and then you have the big one. You're really trying to prove, the only way to do this is to prove that the small triangle is similar to the really big triangle. And it might make sense because if you look at this triangle, this is an acute triangle. All the three angles are acute. If you look at the big triangle, it has an obtuse angle at the top. And if you look at this triangle on the right, it has an obtuse angle at vertex U. So you can kind of maybe see how these work, maybe just comparing the two obtuse triangles if you take a minute and look at that. This, I'm just going to show you how it happens here. Here's a little triangle. If I were to take that off the page, and I'm grabbing angle G here, the top angle. If I take it off the page and kind of flip it around, angle G will fit right in here to angle M. That might help you see which sides correspond to one another. So like this bottom here that I just held here, this side is 20 units long. The 20 is right here, corresponds, I'm going to flip it back to the original, corresponds to the 10. Hopefully that makes sense. This is a 10 to 20 ratio. It's hard to see that maybe. Another way to think of that is this 20 is across from the obtuse angle. This long side of 20 is across from this obtuse angle here. And if you look at angle U as the obtuse angle, it's across from the 10. So you can see there's maybe a 2 to 1 ratio going on there. What you might or may not see here is the shared angle. This little triangle, if I flip it around and then put it back in here, yes, angle G got flipped to here and it corresponds to M now. Angle D didn't even move. I did flip it around. You know, angle D is down here. As I flip this, hopefully I'm not blocking the whole screen on here, angle D is still in the same position. There's angle D. It's still angle D. It's still congruent to angle D on there. So there's your shared angle. You could do this with side angle side. The 20 corresponds to the 10. And if you think of these two triangles again, this is across from the congruent angle. The 5 is across from the little congruent mark. What's across from the congruent mark here? The 10, if you look at the big triangle. So this is a 10 to 5 ratio. Again, it's a 2 to 1 ratio on here, a 2 to 1 scale factor. So this is definitely a tricky one. D is that shared reflexive angle. You probably need that. If you want to do it with angle-angle, you could just use these two angles. I'm going to show this or discuss also the scale factor on here. In terms of letter order, DMG is the big triangle. Should have been similar to little triangle DGU. And it should make sense, hopefully, that D is the first letter because D is the shared angle on both of them. M is where the congruent mark is here. G is where the congruent mark is here. And then this G is referring to the obtuse part of this thing, and this U is referring to the obtuse part of the small triangle. That is a tricky one. Hopefully you see that flip going on there, and a 2 to 1 scale. Flip your page over. Try these two out. I think this is on the back of your page. Try those two out. All the numbers you need are on there. I'll come back in part 4 just because I've had some problems with interruptions technology-wise, and also people coming into my classroom. Give these a try. I might just pause this at any time, and I'll show you some answers in part 4. I've got this broken down into 4 parts because there's such small sequences on here. Sorry about that.